Already invited Denise. Can't hear the music. David, thank you for running that sound, the music, but for the rest of the music, can you turn it up? We can't hear it very well. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to the First Unitarian Church of Lynchburg. We are glad you are here. Apologies for technology, but most of you know that occasionally it just bites you wherever your age and whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on Monacan land. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Betty Corbin. I am serving as president-elect of the Board of Trustees, and I have served as president and as treasurer 2 times before. My last term as treasurer was 14 years. So if you are with us for the first time, we're glad you chose to be here this morning to participate in the service for the church community we love. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday email updates, please fill out the virtual visitor card found on our website, uulynchburg.org, under Sunday services, or fill out the yellow card found in the back of the chair in front of you and place it in the offering basket. Please take note of the announcements in the bulletin if you are in the sanctuary. And if you're on Zoom, you can find them in the Friday e-news. Pay attention to the fact that the second annual Interfaith Craft Fair is on Sunday, November 13th at Peakland Baptist. It would be great if you have any craft items that you can donate. If you do, please let Reverend Terry know. Now, I invite us to release our worries about the world and our own lives as we enter into the service by taking some calm, slow breaths. As we enter our time of worship, we light the flame of our chalice, sharing these words. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our power to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of the light. Our first hymn is number 360. Here we have gathered.
This way, we're not close to open days. Wow. See y'all. And I think I have to turn on my microphone. That way, everybody on the screen, if I don't turn this on, they can't hear what's being said. Goodness. So, one of the wonderful things about being together in our church is that we help each other learn. Like y'all are going to your classes in just a few minutes, and I'll bet you'll learn interesting things. Yeah, so when we learn, we find out that sometimes it helps us see the world differently. I took a class one time and I got to learn about plants, and there were microscopes and everything. Now, a lot of us see the world better with glasses. How many people see better with glasses? There are a lot of grown-ups out there who really see like, and didn't you find some fun glasses today? Whoa. So Beth, hold those up. Can I hold those for just a second? Beth, can I hold those? Now, I thought these were like the best glasses. Look at those. Aren't those wonderful? Thank you for sharing that with me. So sometimes a lot of us, I spy, you've got a special glass. So we see better when we wear glasses. And we might also learn, I see that, that's funny, Nora. We learn with other tools. Like one thing that's not that, you can't see the whole world with it, but I love to look at kaleidoscopes. Does anybody else like kaleidoscopes? They're all these little pieces of maybe flowers or rocks or colored glass, and by themselves, they may not look that exciting, but when you put them together in a kaleidoscope, the world is amazing. That's cool. So some people learn through using a microscope. Like if you're a scientist or you're learning in school. I'm actually a scientist. Good for you. I think we're all scientists. Yes, because we can look at very tiny little things like with a microscope and see viruses or tiny cells in plants. And that's the way scientists learn how to improve things in people's health and help the natural world too. Now, I have a friend who's an ornithologist. That means he studies birds. So he studies all these birds, but he can't see them very well from the ground, so he uses binoculars. Yes, that helps him see better. Yeah. And sometimes when we learn something in a class, it's almost like our mind has eyes, because our mind is learning to see things in a different way. But you know what I think the most important way to see? Well, before I say that, I'm going to hold that. That's going to be a secret for just a second. You know, there are a lot of people in this world who are blind and they can't see with their physical eyes, but they can hear and smell and feel vibrations and touch. So there are a lot of ways, even though they can't see with their eyes, they can see the world, experience the world in other ways. Now I want to go back to the most important way that we see. and that's with our heart. And even though we don't have eyes like we see through, our heart can understand things. Like, we know we love our family and we care about people in our congregation and at school. And sometimes someone will be sad or upset about something, and they may not show it on the outside, like they may not, but we can tell that they're not happy. Our heart knows that. So what we can do is maybe give them a hug or tell them they're our friend. So the heart has very good eyes for helping us understand how to care for one another. And seeing in new ways really helps make our life better. And together, when we learn from each other, we can see new ways to help us work together and play together and make a difference in the larger world. So as y'all get ready to go to your classes, and sorry, you'll have to give your special things back to Miss Courtney. Even the microscope has to go back. I'd like for y'all, as you're going to your classes, as you're walking, see if you can see something interesting. Yeah. Well, as y'all walk up slowly to your class with your teachers, that is a cool magnifying glass. And that is great clay that you made your magnifying glass with. So thank you for being with Miss Courtney and me. And y'all have a fun time seeing the world today, okay? Let us sing them on their way. Oh, sorry. We're getting into the, so y'all need to take your chalices up. Yeah. What are they? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those big, there's the whole lot. Let us now sing them on their way. Please. Thank you for being here this morning as we kick off our annual stewardship campaign, or as we keep teasing, it's the service on the amount. This week, I actually admitted to the board that this service for me always feels awkward because, after all, I have a conflict of interest. I'm a pledging member of the congregation and I'm a staff member who benefits from our pledge drive. In my capacity as member and staff, I'm deeply committed to the welfare and mission of our congregation. In other words, I believe in each of you and I believe in us. in what we can accomplish together. And each year, we need to be responsible, preparing a realistic budget for our church home, just as we prepare a personal budget. It needs to meet our basic needs, but also it needs to be visionary. Balancing our needs and our vision is an important, if sometimes delicate, reality. So to consider our budget for the coming year, it seems appropriate for us to look back at this past year to celebrate it a little bit. So I'd like to invite Betty, you can speak from there since, sorry. Yeah. So I'm going to share something that was fun or exciting this year, and then Betty's going to lead our congregational response, which is, wow, that's great. We returned to the sanctuary and committed ourselves to including those who feel Zoom is the best option for their attendance. Wow, that's great. We got to participate in a cutting-edge curriculum for young people on Minecraft that was really awesome. Wow, that's great. We hired a new director of lifespan education. Wow, that's great. We get to listen to beautiful music in our services every week. Wow, that's great. We generously give to a charity every month to support grassroots care for those in need. Wow, that's great. We participate in interfaith projects with other congregations. Wow, that's great. We're teaching our young people about healthy sexuality. Wow, that's great. We had a wedding in our sanctuary that ended up being a fun fundraiser. Wow, that's great. We're expanding adult programming so we can all continue learning. Wow, that's great. We have services that open our minds and hearts. Wow, that's great. We've welcomed people into our community. Yeah. Wow, that's great. Is there, and so I'm just wondering, is there anything that anyone else wants to celebrate from this past year? We may have covered the waterfront. We have a lot to celebrate.
All the great sermons of our minister.
Sorry, Dick. I couldn't hear you.
All the great sermons of our minister.
Oh, wow, that's great. Thank you, Dick.
We had a service auction, and Hugh's pies are fabulous.
Wow, that's really great. I got to eat some of it.
We had great book studies on racism.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. Thank you all. There's so much to celebrate. And we also know that this past year has been filled with transition, adaptation, and renewal. Living in the present means weaving together what is happening in our personal lives and our committee work to create a welcoming environment in our congregation. Certainly, our present reality includes aspects of keeping ourselves and our community healthy. And so today, as is our tradition, we take an offering of our gifts for the work of our community, not only within these walls, but in the larger community. And we take an offering of our monetary gifts, continuing to deeply appreciate the many ways that members of our congregation contribute to the welfare of our community. Let us take an offering of our gifts. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Barb. Gifts given in love and hope continue a cycle of love and hope. Thank you.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Our leadership is asking us this week to make a courageous decision to fully fund our budget. It's going to mean digging deeper to fund our programs, staff, and building. It will mean affirming our mission through the gifts of our time, talent, and monetary support. It certainly feels appropriate then that our theme for the month is change. Brene Brown wrote this about courage. Courage is a heart word. The root of the word courage is cor, the Latin word for heart. In one of its earliest forms, the word courage meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. Over time, this definition has changed, and today we typically associate courage with heroic and brave deeds. She writes, but in my opinion, this definition fails to recognize the inner strength and level of commitment required for us to actually speak honestly and openly about who we are and about our experiences, good and bad. Our life together is grounded in sharing open hearts, minds, and hands. The work of our church evolves as we experience and learn more. I'd like to invite Pat Bauer to come forward to share a proposal from the Social Justice Task Force about their current wishes, dreams.
Plans.
Thank you, Pat.
Yes, I have some exciting news to share about our church's social justice plans. As you know, our mission statement says that we aim to live love in the world. And to really do that, we need to find multiple easy ways for folks to get involved. When you do get involved in whatever large or small way, it does really feel good, and you do some good. The current Social Justice Task Force group recognizes that it has been essentially a top-down group trying to come up with the social justice actions it has deemed important. It's been searching recently for new and better ways to reach out to the congregation. And today we want to share just a couple of ideas. As a first step, the Social Justice Task Force has changed its name to Justice Action and Resource Team, JART. So if you can remember JART. Justice Action and Resource Team, we feel better expresses what we aim to do, to be resources for our church members and friends, to find social justice and eco-justice ways to live out our UU values by taking action on justice issues that interest them. Our monthly meetings will be a place to share information about things you may already be doing, ways you are volunteering in the community, national, state, and local groups that may need more help, and about new projects you'd like some help with. We also think it will be important to increase communication within the congregation by expanding the JART column in our monthly newsletter to include a brief write-up of some issue we are working on or need help with. And when we're back to spending more time in Drysdale Hall, we'll put information about JART activities on the bulletin board. And these ideas are just the beginning. JART invites you to our monthly meeting, usually on the first Tuesday at 7 p.m. via Zoom. And we hope to see you there.
Thank you, Kat.
That's satisfying.
Yes.
It's the tradition in our community that each week we share the joys and concerns. Spirit of life, we hold up today all that's in our hearts, those things that are close to the service that bubble up, and those that reside deep within us, some that we want to continue to hold close and some that we wish to release so that our lives might be healed. We hold up today all those who work for the welfare of people old and young, the medical people, caregivers, those people who make our lives and our health possible. We hold up today those who are ill in mind, body, or spirit, that they may find healing and wholeness. For loved ones and ourselves who celebrate life's rites of passage, birthdays, and other celebrations. And we hold up today our concern and love for our Mother Earth, for the earth, the air, the fire, and the water that makes life possible in all its permutations. May we continue to speak the truth of how important it is to take care of all creatures so that life can be sustained on our earth. This we ask in the name of all that is sacred. Amen. We've looked at our last year. We've shared some of our current reality, and again, special thanks to the JART group. It'll take me a while to learn what it all stands for. So now it's time to take a few moments to consider our future. One of my teachers, Neil Douglas Klotz, often teaches about the caravan of creation, that all life is on this caravan moving forward. We're all walking the path of life. What he suggests is that the future actually lies behind us, and we can't see it clearly. Our footsteps follow the path of those who came before, and our footsteps will help show the path to those who come after us. I find that to be a powerful, if sort of unsettling metaphor. We want to have control over our lives and our future, but we simply cannot. We see that metaphor unfolding in our lives and community. COVID has certainly challenged all of us. We can see before us, the past, what was normal before. But the world, our nation, our community are all different now. We must, however, plan, create a course of action for ourselves and our congregation. And we plan it in hope and trust, still understanding that the future is uncertain, and we might have to, even as we move forward, make changes in our future plans. Sometimes this can cause frustration or cynicism, fear, or paranoia that take hold of us. There are days where we might feel that we have to actively resist just giving up. When preparing for my small group meeting, I came across a quote in our packet on courage by Ambrose Redmoon, who wrote, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear." One of the most profound acts of courage before us today is to choose not to succumb to fear and cynicism. Maria Popova wrote, "Don't just resist cynicism, fight it actively in yourself and in those you love and in the communication with which you shape culture. Cynicism, like all destruction, is easy. It's lazy. There is nothing more difficult yet gratifying in our society than living with sincere, active, constructive hope for the human spirit. This is the most potent antidote to cynicism, and it's an act of courage and resistance today. We are here because we live with hope. Maybe it's below the surface some days, but we believe in the importance of the message of Unitarian Universalism. Our former Unitarian Universalist Association president, John Burens, wrote this in the book, A Chosen Faith. Unitarian Universalists choose to gather in religious communities where other individuals, and yes, a whole tradition, help us keep heart and conscience and mind receptive. In our churches and fellowships, we're constantly invited to accept the universe, to emphasize practical religion, to give the world not hell, but hope and courage. We're here by choice. We chose a faith that does indeed offer hope and courage and love and justice to others and ourselves, even when times are challenging. We chose this congregation, and these are our people. These are the people who help us find hope and courage when times are tough and celebrate when times are good. This is our community of choice that helps us see a path into the future. Now we need to choose together the kind of future we want to create. So Betty, we've talked a good bit this past year about the budget, about the programs we want to create. I'm going to let you stand here. I'll stand over here. About how we want to let people know there's a liberal religious community here for people who seek a safe place to explore and be themselves. So I want to ask you about building our future. You're president-elect. As you said in the welcome, you were treasurer for 14 years. You couldn't stand being off the board, and we're so glad you're back. What are some of the outreach and programming requests that are part of our budget for this year?
I think one of the more exciting things is that RE is expanding into lifespan religious education. You heard some of that in our past about the training. And I particularly did benefit greatly from the anti-racism training that we did. RE, like Sunday services, has a remote access component. Our Whole Lives is a wonderful program that has training and material costs. We have added modest amounts in the budget for our internal connections, formerly our membership groups, as well as for outreach to cover registration fees and materials that we plan to hand out at community events, including the Get Downtown event that got rained out, as well as the Pride Day.
We've been much more successful in maintaining our religious education programming and services in person, in Zoom attendance simultaneously. And actually, when I talk to religious educators in other faith traditions, I think we've done a much better job than many congregations in keeping our young people connected. But it can be challenging. And we know that our leadership is committed to including everyone who wants to participate. What pressure does that put on the budget?
Well, in addition to requiring additional volunteers and staff time, we now spend about 5 times what we were spending pre-COVID on electronic communications and tech support. Approximately $6,100 versus $1,200. But it's wonderful to have members able to join when they can't be physically in this building. And we all benefit from that, not only as a congregation, but in religious education. One of the strong things they did this past summer was Minecraft, creating a wonderful UU village of the future. That was possible because we sustained electronic communications.
Congregations of all faiths are challenged to balance budgets in this post-COVID reality. What's your biggest concern as you approach your year being president?
Okay. Making sure we have the best congregation any minister could want to serve. We're great people.
Well, I agree with that.
I know, we got you. But your time will end all too soon. And we will soon start the process of doing a ministerial search. And as you enter this search process, we must be financially strong. So a candidate will feel comfortable in relocating to serve us. They may love us, but they would like to get paid. So we're great people with wonderful programs, thanks to the hard work of many leaders, volunteers, and our staff. So now we need to also work on balancing the budget.
So we don't want to cut staff, or I hope we don't cut staff.
Well, yeah.
And we don't want to cut programming. What's the challenge in this budget this year?
Well, the total spending is going from 170 to 180,000. That's about a 5% increase. And that did take some snipping along the way. But in order to balance this budget, we need a 16% increase in pledging. Pledging fell off not in 2021, but it fell off this year. So I have pledge cards in the back room. For those of you who are here today, I'll be glad to hand them out. I'll be glad to answer any detailed questions. But what I would ask that each of us do is think carefully about what we can additionally add to our pledges this coming year. Pledges really are the overall elephant that funds our buildings, our staff, everything we want to do and do. And there really isn't much we can take out of the expenses. Inflation, as all of us know, has increased for the last 2 years. So to hold this budget at only a 5% increase is quite modest. And we are giving staff modest raises. Last year we did better, but it did mean that I expect that we're going to end this year with about a $15,000 deficit. And that's 1,000 less than I originally projected. So we can't sustain that type of deficit. Our undesignated reserves are $23,000 now. We have cash, but that is generally in designated funds, such as the Common Endowment Fund. So I don't give you all just bleak news. Common Endowment Fund now is a little over $100,000 by combining the opportunity funds and memorial funds into it. So we're building for our long-term future, but we do need to sustain our current year-to-year operating.
Thank you, Betty, for all you do in figuring out a complex budget and what to nip and tuck. And, as I look at the Zoom screen and I see all of you around the sanctuary, I see so many people who are generous with their time and their donations. We now invite you to help us create courageous, visionary budgeting. Our hope is that each of you will think seriously about the pledge commitment you make this year. Together, we all created a powerful mission statement. I tell my colleagues in UU congregations, we have the best mission statement I've ever seen. This is what we decided we wanted our congregation to be, and I hope that this will be the guide as each of us decides what we can pledge this coming year. So I invite us to share our mission statement together. It's in the chat and it should be in our bulletin. It says, as a loving, vibrant, and inclusive community, we celebrate the dignity of all living beings and nurture lifelong spiritual and ethical growth. Encouraging compassion for all, we protect the vitality of our natural world and act for justice, equity, and peace. We live love in the world. May we all join together to create a future that is guided by our commitment to live love in the world. And let us now rise in body or spirit as we share our closing hymn, number 131. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or these we carry in our hearts until we are together again. It seemed appropriate that our final words of blessing, pardon me, these lights just want to keep shining. So it seemed appropriate to share the words of John Murray, who brought universalism to this continent. Go out to the highways and byways. You may possess a small light, but uncover it, let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. May it be so. Amen. Whoa, I'm so grateful for Emily. She had to be virtual today, but she'll be back next week. And I'm wondering if we can just take a few moments to have some